Thank you, Cassie. On behalf of the staff and the City Council of the city, we'd like to welcome you to this public meeting. It will be held electronically in accordance with House Bill 5002, Open and Public Meetings Act amendments signed into law on June 25th of 2020, pursuant to written determination by the mayor, finding that conducting the meeting with an anchor location presents a substantial risk to the health and safety of those who may be present due to infections and potentially dangerous nature of COVID-19 virus. Public meetings will be held electronically for the next 30 days. The YouTube live stream of the meeting can be found at the following link, and that link is on the agenda, or you can do Syracuse live stream on YouTube and you can find it. I've asked, I'd like to call this meeting to order, and I've asked Seth if you'd offer an invocation or some thought. And then Jordan, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Great. Okay. Our Father in heaven, we come before thee at the beginning of this council meeting full of gratitude for the opportunity we have to meet together and to discuss the affairs of the city. We ask you to watch over us, that we may be wise in our decisions, that we may be listening and learning as we go, that we can be mindful of those we serve. Heavenly Father, we ask thee to watch over all those who are participating and those who are listening, that they can have an understanding heart, and that anybody in this city who is sick or afflicted or otherwise suffering at this time may be alleviated of those concerns and return to health. We are grateful for this city and for those who serve it and those who are employed by the city. And we ask thee for thy blessing, and do so in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. All right, if I could ask everyone to rise. I've put a flag on my screen, so you should be able to, or if you have one local. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you, fellas. Appreciate that. Council, I'd accept the motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
I have by Jordan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the agenda is adopted. Cassie informed the council and myself at 5 o'clock that she had not received any emails wishing to be placed on the public record, but we do want to take public comment. So for those of you that are joining us by Zoom, this would be your opportunity to address the council regarding any issue or concerns that you have in the city. We'd ask you to limit your comments to 3 minutes. And if you'd give us your name and place of residence, you'll become part of the public record. So we're now open for public comment.
Yeah, hi, I'm Nancy Bakke.
Yes.
And I live in Reno, Nevada. And I own a property in the Syracuse Town Center. And it was formerly the O'Reilly's, if everybody knows what that is. And I'm here, I just want to voice my opinion on the development that I've just recently found out about that concerns me. I am opposed to this townhome development known as the towns in our city center. I believe that the development violates the current CC&Rs for the Syracuse Town Center and does not conform to the general commercial zoning designation. The town's development, I think, should be denied because it's non-compliant to the center CC&Rs. It's incompatible with the commercial use, and it has significant safety issues. in the CC&Rs, 3.4 operations specifically restricts moving or altering the cross-access cuts without adjoining property owners' written consent. The town's site plan shows the cross-access cut moved to the south and is partially blocked by the proposed building. If residential use is permitted in the center, there's nothing to stop the remaining vacant lot to becoming residential. This will drastically change the commercial center and have detrimental consequences to the existing business owners. Adding residential component to a commercial center has significant safety issues. Where do the children play? What about their bicycles and skateboards and pets? Do children need to walk through the center to attend school or to get on the school bus? Or does the school bus drive into the center and block the patrons from parking and impede vehicular movement within the center? There are garbage cans and mailboxes that need to be located on the cross-access cut road. All these would impede the cross-access cut and east-west vehicular movement. I believe the city council approved the town's development with the condition that the applicant secure parking from the adjoining property owners. And I have been contacted by Josh Hughes numerous times, and each time I've explained to him that I'm not going to give up any of my parking on my lot number 7. I explained to him that I need all the parking for my future development plans of my own commercial property. The requirements of securing additional parking from the adjoining parcel owners has not been met. I fear that the unsolved parking problem will significantly impact the future development of my property and the other property owners. And I just want to appreciate that I was able to address the city council, and thank you for listening. And hopefully that will, I know that's not on your agenda today, but I know it has been and may be in the future. So thank you.
Yes, thank you, Nancy. Yes, it will be on a future agenda. And we'd invite you to tune in then too. We'd love to hear your comments.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Even if again. Okay,
Thank
you. Anyone else that would like to address the council?
Kerry Jorgensen.
Okay, Kerry.
So I'm another neighboring property owner in here for the same issue. I own that strip of shops that's in front, the one that has Dollar Loan Center, Dollar Cuts, Corner Noodle, Evolutionary Martial Arts, and a few others. I wanted to, I sent you all a letter. I think you've all received it saying why I oppose the project in general. I want to apologize first that Nancy and I are kind of slow getting involved here, and I know we're kind of far down the road, but I did originally attend the planning commission meeting and stated my objections there when they initially recommended denial, and I was intending to attend the city council meeting, but I wasn't aware they don't notify neighbors of those meetings. When I called Noah Steele to ask why I hadn't heard anything, he told me that the city council had approved the zoning like 2 or 3 days before, and I was too late for that. But he did say that we would have a chance to input on the site plan. But the way it's turning out is the planning commission says, no, our hands are tied. Now that the city council's approved, they don't believe they can do anything with site plan other than the last time I think they did recommend denial, but I think they're only looking for 4 open parking spaces is all they're asking for. The main thing I wanted to talk about, I mean, I think this the residential does not fit in this location. It's just a bad setting for residential. I think that's a negative impact on the retail center, but the parking is a big problem. And I've said before to the planning commission that people in townhomes, I'm an appraiser. I've been an appraiser for 40 years, but people in townhomes without driveways, they put their stuff in the garage because they don't have adequate storage, and then they park elsewhere. I live by a project like this. So this parking is all going to spill out onto our neighboring properties and impact the parking there. As you know, the restrictive covenants, pardon me, as you know, the restrictive covenants say that the only uses allowed are commercial uses of a type found in a retail center. And they say that every development is required to provide 5 spaces per 1,000 parking and say the parking's shared. The developer's attorney apparently sent a letter to the city saying that they have reciprocal parking rights and therefore do not need to provide any specific amount of on-site parking because there's plenty on adjoining properties. And the city's interpretation so far has been that because the city code allows for shared parking to satisfy the parking requirement, they must accept the reciprocal parking agreement as satisfying the parking requirement. But because the city doesn't enforce restrictive covenants, they must ignore the remainder of the ECR and anything else that's required. And of course, it makes perfect sense that a development could have 5 commercial buildings and a center and each on their own owned pad. And if it's designed so that the overall parking ratio meets the city requirement, they're okay. That makes sense. Or that's not how this center was designed. There are reciprocal parking and access agreements, but there's no shared parking in that way. As far as I can see, every building is designed with the minimum amount of parking. None of us have any excess spaces. If the townhouse development uses spaces on my property or one of the neighbors, our own parking ratio effectively drops, and the city would be violating its own parking ordinance, it seems to me, because the overall parking ratio in the center will drop. And if the city allows the development to use parking on my lot or one of the neighbors' lots, they're effectively taking property rights from me in the form of our existing high parking ratio and transferring those rights to the developer in the form of density. And to me, to allow shared parking makes sense, but the city can't decide that the developer has the right to park on my lot. And think also that to be consistent, the city would have to treat me or Nancy the same way. If we decide to expand our buildings by, say, 50%, the city would say, wait, you don't have enough parking. But our response would be, there's reciprocal parking. Our tenants and customers can park at Walmart or on the lot the city owns or anywhere else in the center. So that's why we're here with the city council is I'm hoping that you'll step in and say, this interpretation doesn't work, to say that the reciprocal parking meets their requirements. The developer, of course, is hoping that the reciprocal part, that the whole ECNR is not enforceable, but the problem is the developer has to rely on the ECR to even provide access to the property. He doesn't have legal access if that document is not enforceable. So what we're here doing is, the way we read the city council minutes, it appears to us that that zoning was conditional, as Nancy said. If the developer is required to continue working with the neighbors on parking, that condition was never met. And so we're asking that you find that the zoning conditions were not met and they never got over the finish line if your conditions mean something. And so the issue of zoning, I hope, is still open. And we would ask you at this point to turn down the zoning application because that condition you set is not met and not even meetable. They cannot get any additional parking from any of the neighbors. And if that's not possible, if it's too far down the road, we at least ask that you step in, because the planning commission will only go with the minimum that you set as the requirement. So we ask that you at least require that if this is going to be a mixed use project, that it have a substantial component of retail so that it fits in. And also, if townhouses are allowed, please require that they have private driveways so the residents park in their own property and not on the adjoining properties and impact the retail tenants, which wouldn't be good for us or the city. Anyway, I took more than 3 minutes. I apologize, but thank you sincerely for your consideration on that.
Yeah, Carrie, you're also welcome. This is, I think, on our work session agenda, so you're welcome to join us. Appreciate it. Kristen, I see your hand up.
Hi, my name is Kristen Stringham. I'm a former resident of Syracuse. I grew up at 3796 West Cherry Hill Circle, and I live in Salt Lake now. And I am currently a master's student at the University of Utah. I'm pursuing a degree in science technology. and I'm here this evening because I am interested as part of my coursework in completing a project that would look at surveying invasive tree species in residential areas, which is an area that I believe is currently understudied. Invasive species are usually studied in the context of rangeland in Utah, but because these species can easily become a nuisance, such as in some cases being a fire hazard or spreading very quickly or just not being very attractive, and they can be very difficult and expensive to remove. So this could be really valuable information for the city to have. And I'm speaking to you, Syracuse, specifically tonight because it is my hometown. So I would love to have this chance to give back a little bit to my community that raised me. And also because I thought it would fit within the goals of the city's redevelopment agency, one of which is to remove blight. And I also, it was brought to my attention that the Community and Economic Development Department may also find this data useful. So I was hoping to determine if there is sufficient interest to do so. I would like to request an agenda item for this project or whatever other next steps might be deemed necessary.
Kristen, let me suggest that you contact Noah Steele. He is on this screen. He can be contacted by calling the city and asking for him. He's the head of our Community and Economic Development Department. And then we will, if you request, we will be glad to put this on an agenda in the future.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Is there something that she needs from us in order to do this study? I guess I was just curious about that.
So
what maybe you do? I don't know.
In words only, my project is required to have a sponsor, which in this case just basically means someone that I am accountable to present a final project to. So I am not looking for any sort of funding or any resources of that nature, basically just your permission. And that at the end of my project, I can show my track director at school that I did a real project. I didn't make it up. I am accountable to someone. I produced real data.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you contact Noah, we'll get you on an agenda and we'd love to hear your report.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else like to address the council?
I do think Carrie had a question about the work session. Is that right, Mr. Jorgensen?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know what the work session means. Is that your next?
It's our next meeting. It's in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks.
So is every other one a work session or something?
Yes.
Every fourth Tuesday is a work session.
Thank you very much.
Okay, let's move on, council. Our next item is the approval of the minutes. We have minutes of August 24th, 2021. It was a special city council meeting and to canvass the primary election. On August 24th, we also had a work session. On September 14th, our business meeting. Was there anything in those minutes that you think needs to be corrected or was misstated?
The only question I had is, last time I checked, the Davis County election results doesn't appear to match the final results that were, it's actually down right now. I was going to check it again, but they don't seem to match what's on there. I know that we did a final canvass, but I just wanted to make sure that we had the right numbers. I'm assuming we do, but I was just curious if Cassie knows why the Davis County website was never updated with the final counts.
I wonder if they reverted back to the preliminary, because I know the night that we canvassed, they had updated that information because I double checked it when we certified our results, because I had to send everything to the Lieutenant Governor's office. So I'll follow up with them and see if maybe that updated website crashed or something and they reverted to the preliminary. But the numbers that you canvassed and certified that night are the final results. But yeah, okay. I can follow up and get back to you on that.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Anything else, council? Take a motion to approve.
So moved.
I heard Seth. Who else was there?
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that carried unanimously. Our consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull either of those items from the consent agenda? Not hearing anything. We have item A, a final plat approval, Aspire at Canterbury, located at approximately 2376 West, 1700 South, and proposed ordinance 2021-28, amending section 3.35.020 of the Syracuse Municipal Code, providing for an alternate to serve on the Parks Advisory Committee. I take a motion to approve our consent calendar.
So moved.
I have a motion from Lisa. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Seth. Or was that Jordan?
Seth.
Seth. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Kathy, that was unanimous. Relevant to item B there, I would propose by resolution R2148 that we appoint Jackie O'Shea as an alternate member of the city Syracuse City Parks Advisory Committee because of her equestrian skills and her knowledge of equestrian things and related to that part. Is there any discussion on that appointment?
I think I'm supposed to start out on this, but I just wanted to say I'm glad that we're connecting with some of our some of the things that we excel in this city so much, and I'm glad to have someone who represents equestrian on the committee. I think it's great to have all different viewpoints and perceptions and perspectives. So,
Agreed.
And if I can add to that, after talking to a lot of these individuals, they have some great ideas for some items we could potentially, I know Cresta loves when I say we can add more into Heritage Day's celebration, but I think there's some awesome things we could add in there out at the equestrian arena, especially horse games that I think would be a huge draw. So I think she'll be a great addition that can kind of help guide us in that aspect to kind of bring the equestrians back into the city and kind of in our discussions and considerations.
Okay.
So awesome.
Any other comment? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept resolution R2148 appointing Jackie O'Shea as an alternate member to the Syracuse City Parks Advisory Committee.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by, I heard Lisa. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, Cassie, that was unanimous. Let's go to item Noah, the final plat for RC Park West subdivision, phase 1.
Yes, we've talked about this multiple times now. This is a PRD development, but this is purely administrative. This is the final plat. They're getting things ready to record the plat at the county so that they can sell off individual lots. Planning Commission's reviewed it. They're recommending approval. The only staff item that's pending is getting some addressing on the plat, which can occur right before they print it off to go to the county. Other than that, we have no other concerns. So turn it back to you for questions.
Okay, all right. Do you want to lead out on this one, Corinne?
Sure. I think that it's pretty well straightforward. I noticed that they're doing all of the, or at least looks like most of the single family homes in the first phase. So that's pleasing to see and looks good.
Yeah, I think it looks great. I would move that we approve the final plat or final plat for RC's Park West subdivision, phase 1.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay.
Okay, that, would you record that in opposition to that? Okay, thank you. Robert, proposed resolution R2146 authorizing the adoption of the 2021 storm drain management program for Syracuse City.
Yeah, City Council, this is the same document I brought forward in the last work session meeting. It is a requirement for all cities to have a stormwater management program in place. They're good for 5 years, which coincide with the permit that the state issues. So the permit has been renewed with the state for another 5-year term. And it's this would coincide with what the requirements are on the state's permit. So if you have any questions, I can take those. Ultimately, we need to approve a stormwater management program, and I would end up submitting it to the state so they know that we remain in compliance.
Okay.
So
Thank you, Robert. Dave, do you want to lead us out here?
I don't think there's much to discuss. We have seen this. It meets all the requirements. It's necessary. I would go ahead and make a motion that we approve unless somebody has further discussion.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Take care. Would you record that as unanimous, Cassie? Robert, I think this next one's yours too.
it is, yeah. This is also a requirement of the state. This one's through the Division of Drinking Water. It is required that all water systems comply with a water conservation plan as a requirement of the state. So this is also something that I brought to you back in, I think it was an April meeting, to review and discuss before I submitted it as a draft to the state to be sure that we are in compliance with their requirements. They like what we have and are ready for us to move forward whenever you are. Now, this one is due December 31st, so we do have a little bit of time on it if you wanted to take more time, but it's, I haven't changed anything other than the goal. The draft that I gave you, I just put X% for the goal. This one actually shows what the goal is. And the goal is, I wanted to be sure the goal is attainable. And if you remember the water graphs that we had for culinary and secondary, we stayed pretty consistent at 50 gallons per person per day throughout the years. And it was the secondary water that really kind of went up and down and went up quite a bit. Well, this drought year actually is going to bring it. So I don't have the final data because I don't have the culinary water data, but just looking at the secondary water data, it brought it back down into 150 gallons per person per day, which is what historically we've been able to do prior to like 2013. So I felt good that it is attainable. We did do it this year. It was a struggle, obviously, but the goal doesn't need to be met until I think it's 2030. So we've got some time on it.
Okay.
Excellent.
Jordan?
The only thing I would add into water education is that we put in the information to urge smart controllers. Anytime you can automate something, I think you should. So I don't think it matters a lot. I don't know how many citizens are reading this plan, but I do think it's good to talk about the addition of smart controllers in there, as well as we say well-trimmed lawn. The problem is if you cut your lawn too short, it actually is detrimental to the watering. So I want to try and reword well-trimmed to cut, what is it they say, whatever the guideline is at the highest mower setting.
Could you say appropriately as per state guidelines? And if it changes, we don't have to change the document again?
They actually have an optimum
Does-
height. It's like 2 inches, I'm pretty sure, but
Yeah,
there is an optimum.
just well trimmed to me means short. And again, that's probably, like I say, these are our nits really. This document was well done. And I just think there's a few things that I really think we need to take advantage of. First of all, technology, because most people don't know how to water clay. And then secondly, just clarification of the well-trimmed. Other than that, great job.
Just one
Would it
comment
help
that-
say, I'm
sorry.
sorry. I was going to suggest manicured. Would the word manicured work? Or
I would just put in what the guideline is for cutting lawns. And I think it is, I think Corinne's right. It's like 2 inches, something like that.
Because you get
Okay.
longer and then it starts to die on itself, and shorter it dries out. But it's easy to check. Jordan, though, with the smart controllers, I think there might be a generational gap. So what statement do you want? I mean, I'm talking about like for certain.
Just encourage smart control, installation of smart controllers where possible.
Okay. Don't want to mandate.
Yeah, these are all just guidelines. It says some tips for outdoor water use may include.
Great.
So
I didn't know you wanted that statement. That's all. Okay.
I just have one thought on that, and I am not against smart controllers. I'm pro smart controllers. I think that you've done a great service at really bringing that issue forward, Jordan. My only concern is if we put this in the document as a recommendation, would we then as a city feel compelled to accept the excuse that my smart controller failed if somebody protested a fine for watering?
No, I mean, you're still, it's just like an automatic car. Just because your car gets an accident when the autopilot was on, your insurance is still in charge of covering it. I think the same thing here. If you're not setting your controller accurately, because they will work without an internet connection, I think you're much likely to have a automatic controller fail as you would be to have a person forget to turn their water off manually. So I think the risk outweigh the opportunity outweighs the risk.
That's fine. I think you're okay. I just wanted to mention that because I actually got a call today from somebody upset that they just saw a fine on their water bill that they were unaware of. I just thought we better mention how that would be handled and how we would stand on that. Now it's on the record that we're not forgiving because you had a malfunction of an automated device.
Yep. You're still in charge of your home and your property.
I could accept that.
This is really good.
All tools, right? These are all just tools and suggestions and information.
Yeah. These are tips.
None of these are mandates and here's a requirement. And if you don't do it, then this, and then you're fined. And then, I mean, we're just talking about really trying to meet the goals that Robert has set through education rather than regulation.
Yep.
Right. You're right. The most important part of this plan is that percent of conservation. It's that goal. The rest of it, you could say, is fluff, but it's how can we help to achieve that goal?
Agree. And I think you did a great job.
Council, do you want to see this back again, or can he make those changes? And
I think you can make those changes. And
I would make a motion to approve with those changes as mentioned.
okay, thank you, Dave.
Second.
Second by Jordan. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, Cassie, would you record that one? Brody or Paul, is this one of you authorized administration to execute
This is me.
interlocal? It's you? Okay.
Yeah, this is me again.
Okay.
So as part of the stormwater management program, it was in the appendix of the document, just for the stormwater management program. But a part of the permit requires that we work together to accomplish a goal beyond our city, which is working together with other cities in our county. And we are a part of the Davis Stormwater Coalition, as well as all other cities are a part of that. So this agreement just allows us to work together and share resources. And most of the time, the resources is our time. And our environmental superintendent is primarily the one spending his time. It's not a lot of time, but there's one meeting a month, and they collaborate with ideas to help promote clean stormwater. So this agreement allows us to participate in the coalition.
Any questions on that one, Seth?
No, I think it's a great idea. And I think that this isn't a Syracuse problem, right? It's a regional and much larger issue. And so anytime we have an opportunity to work together, gain insight and collaborate on mutual interests and goals, it makes sense to me. So I definitely support it.
Okay. Anyone else? Seth, would you like to make a motion?
Yeah. Motion to approve the interlocal agreement. Let's see. what is the,
You're doing good.
yeah, trying to find where it's located, but yeah, motion to
Yeah.
approve the interlocal agreement on the stormwater prevention plan.
Page 184 in your packet.
There.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion, council? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so that sounds unanimous, Cassie. We're back to public comment. If there's anybody here who is still with us with the public, I think they've all gone. Okay, let's start with council announcements. And can I start where you are on my screen, Lisa, with you?
Yes, great. I had the opportunity to go watch Robert and his crew in action Saturday with a water main break. Whole street collapsed in, giant hole, men covered in mud, working in the rain. And I just want to go on record as saying how much we appreciate our the people who keep everything running in Syracuse. And they're knowledgeable, they're well-trained, they're determined, and they are competent. So I know that they quickly got that water back to going to the residents, even though there was only about 11. I think we decided there were 11 homes on that line, and it still just is wonderful that we have these people that work so hard for our citizens. Corinne and I have been able to continue going to the police academy, and look forward to another day. Tomorrow we'll be going to the next one. We've got another 5 or 6 till we're finished with this.
Are you going to get tased?
That's what this week is.
You gonna do it?
No, but I'm
Debate.
supervising.
What's that?
I'm going to supervise, and I'm gonna applaud anybody who was willing to do that.
What about you, Corinne? You gonna do it?
I've submitted myself to a lot of pain before, so it's up for debate though.
Do it.
Jordan, I think the pressure is probably inappropriate here. We should let them choose for themselves.
Decide on that. And then we have a couple of our youth council who want to start a nutrition and mental health kind of a class for their peers. And so need to meet with you, Mayor, and get these couple of girls set up with you for a meeting for that. But I'm just tickled with the people, with the youth who are just willing to go forward and come up with ideas on their own to make a difference in our community. So those are the things on my agenda right now.
Thank you, Lisa. Dave?
Oh, I'm sorry. One more thing. We're going to be doing food or basically their food pantry for the local schools that have pantries. Syracuse, Clearfield. I'm trying to remember if it was New Ames. What's Nate Taggart over? Do you guys know? Anyway, I'll find out. But anyway, we're going to be doing that with the West Davis Chamber of Commerce. So we'll start that in November and do it throughout the month. And we'll tell you that local businesses will have collection areas, and we just are waiting to hear from the schools what they are needing the most. So, okay, now
Thank you for working with the youth. I love the youth. Thank you. David?
The sewer board met to start dropping the pipe into the channel that will now be buried for the pipeline that has been going on. There's a video out about that. That's just that project is moving along well and will be very beneficial to the community. We will meet later this week and go over new items that I'll report on. The Arts Council this month met to approve their final season, which will include concerts, preliminary approval, pending that everything gets aligned with contracts, will include a return from a guest artist that we will have in the winter. The flautist that was here before has asked to come back, and they want to work with her. She brings great music that's been composed that she'll bring to the city. There is the season for theater will include Shrek the musical for the summer, and the junior musical next fall will be Mary Poppins Jr. So look forward to their great participation with things going there.
Thank you, David. Jordan? You're muted.
I see it. So I want some clarification on that. Dave, you said their final season?
No, finalizing the season.
Finalize.
Not
Okay, good.
finally. No, they, in fact, one of their things that they're set out to do, which I have been encouraging them to do, but they're going to start talking multi-year planning now because they've kind of established some trends of what they're doing. And I think that that's a really positive thing for them. So, but no, they're finalizing. The only hitch can come if, like, for example, they don't have the contracted rights yet. We believe it'll happen, that they seem to be available. We've asked for a contract, but until it's signed, it's not, there's still the chance that they could have a problem there.
Okay, thank you. My announcements are, number one, I was thrilled to see the clock telling time. That was pretty exciting for me. All four faces were indicative of the correct time, which made me very happy. Also, we have the Syracuse Pumpkin Walk in 2 weeks, starting on, does it start on the 21st? So anyone listening to this, make sure you, if you haven't already signed up to carve pumpkins, now is the time to do so. Just call up the Parks and Rec and they have pumpkins for carving. And also, I might be stealing the thunder of Corinne, but the museum is having their late night on the 22nd. So lots of exciting things going on. Super excited about them. My committees, the Parks Committee did not meet this month, or will not be meeting tomorrow. So nothing new there. And the Disaster Preparedness Committee are working on planning out our disaster plan for next April. So they'll be working through that and more details on that as it comes available. But other than that, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I failed to mention one date, just to put it on your calendar. November 29th, the orchestra and jazz band will have a holiday themed concert. I forgot, we're going to try and squeeze that in with the two of them splitting the time. And then the actual date for the guest artist will be February 28th.
Thank you, Dave. Seth?
Yeah, thanks. You got my planning commission report. It was only one item, so pretty quick meeting, but pretty nuanced discussion. So I hope it did justice, but I would recommend listening in as well, because we'll likely see that coming up shortly. Brody, I just wanted to follow up to see if, or maybe Public Works had seen or followed up on the request from Mr. King from Cook Elementary in regards to that, the feasibility of a crosswalk or just looking at the traffic issues there in front of Cook Elementary. And other than that, I just wanted to give them an update. But other than that, nothing else.
Yeah, sorry, I'm not dressed up for the meeting. Just got back to the room in time. Yeah, I don't, unless there's been some activity since I've been gone, you know, we've looked at it, I think 2 or 3 times. I think we keep giving the same answer. So I'm not sure what else we're gonna look at.
Yeah, I think what they had indicated was that it was a different street this time. But I think they're kind of grasping at anything that will assist them with their traffic concerns, just because of the narrow streets and the route that goes through there. But yeah, I could definitely forward that on to them if it's just kind of same answer.
We're happy to meet with them though. Do you want us to reach directly out to Mr. King?
I'm happy to ask him if a meeting would be in order, and
Okay.
and then I'll follow up with you on that.
Yeah, I think that'd be great.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else, Seth?
No, that's it. Thank you.
Corinne?
Well, first of all, just about the museum meeting, excuse me. The late night at the museum is actually on the 22nd from 5 to 8. So, and they do a great job. So they usually get into character and so forth. Let's see. Then we have mosquito abatement on Thursday. So we haven't had that yet. And that's all I have so far.
Thank you.
Pretty sweet.
Do we have any more detail on West Nile virus and how has that kind of been better controlled?
Well, as far as it was, the main thing is that Davis County was doing a lot more testing than, frankly, any of our neighboring counties. And so we looked like we were the hot spot of Utah when actually they were probably just as hot. It was definitely more than we've seen in the previous years. But anytime they get a positive treatment or a positive West Nile, they hyper treat that area on a regular basis till they don't get the positive anymore. So they were very active this summer. In fact, they put down probably more product than probably only, I would say maybe comparable with last year when they had more staffing to be able to do it because of COVID. This year, the only thing that kept them from putting down more product was the lack of staff, not being able to hire. So, but overall, because the temperatures have dropped dramatically, they stopped spraying. Usually they do at the end of September. Right after we had the rains, that's when we had a big, huge hatching right after that for the next couple of weeks afterward. And a lot of requests from Syracuse. We're always top of the list every time. So anyway, us and West Bountiful, except for we're bigger than West Bountiful, so we still top it. Anyway, but as far as West Nile cases, we only had the one lady who was in ICU. So far, the sad thing is that it's so detrimental. It will take a year plus for most people to recover. And it gets zero attention at all. I mean, they put millions and millions of dollars into Zika and we didn't even see anything, but yet we have hundreds of people die across the US from West Nile every year. And not much we can do because there's just not the interest in coming up with a vaccine, even though we have one for horses. There you go. So immunize your horses this spring. If you got any new foals, especially, they will die if they get it. So get your horses immunized. There you go.
That's something we ought to bring up at the parks meeting. I guess that's talking to myself. With Jackie coming in, I'll make sure that's passed along to the horse community.
Very much. It is a very hot year, and I would suspect too, until you hear next year that it's dropped, to treat it as though it still is next spring.
Okay, thank you.
That's when you have to immunize, is in the spring too, when they're born anyway.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, let me bring you up to date on several things that I've been involved with. We will be hosting COG next Wednesday. We're going to do so at Warehouse 22. And last year we didn't get a chance to do that because of COVID. And if any of you want to meet to talk about anything, they usually give the host city about 10 minutes to talk about what's cool in Syracuse. If you'd like me to mention something, just let me know and I'll do that. We've had a request from Safe Harbor for funding, sharing some funding from our ARPA monies from the federal government. We will discuss that more at the work session in 2 weeks, but just want you to know that they are some of their resources have dried up. In fact, Paul told me our victim services relies on some of the same grants that have dried up at the federal level. So they're kind of hurting for money. We will discuss what our level of participation will be, what they're asking for in that work session meeting, but just to have you aware that that's happening. I'm going to be out of town from November 1st to the 4th. Wasatch Integrated Waste Management District is attending a conference. And the topic is gasification of garbage. Now, I have a master's degree in biochemistry, and I've been asked specifically to go to attend those classes and then come back and report to the rest of the board on something that may not be everybody's bailiwick. I'll also announce that Paul and I met together today, and we determined that our work session meeting will need to probably be virtual. Paul mentioned that we're kind of at a plateau. We kind of expect to be going down, but instead of going, we're not going up, but we're kind of plateaued. And Corinne knows what kind of hospitalization is going on. It's still really bad.
It's always delayed.
Yeah. So I've elected to continue at least for 2 more weeks. The virtual meeting. Hopefully by the 1st of November, we can be back meeting in chambers. There are a couple of things that also have been affected by COVID. Lunch with the mayor, which was started by Terry Palmer. We didn't do it during the COVID season, and there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in it right now because of COVID. So Brody and I have sat down and we've decided to put that off this year. We'll bring it to your attention sometime in the summer next year as to whether we'll bring it back or whether you want us to bring it back. It isn't a big funding issue, but it is a way to teach civics to some elementary school kids.
Hey, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
This is just something that I've been thinking about. Whatever happened to our Student of the Month program?
Well, that's where I was going now.
Oh, then I will let you continue.
Yeah, the chamber, as you know, sponsored the Student of the Month. And right now, because of the confusion of COVID, we think we'll change this as we go on. But right now, we think what we're going to do is place those in the Connection magazine. There are pictures and a little write-up about them. And then maybe after the first of the year, after the election and all the dust settles, then the new council can make a decision as to what they want to do with Student of the Month. So for now, we're going to just put them in the Connection magazine. There still is a lot of rumblings over COVID, and we asked the schools to participate with us, but they're getting so much email that the communication is really hard. So that's what we felt. Now that's all I've got. Brody, do you want to respond, or Paul? Which one of you? You?
Yeah. Well, I'll let Paul chime in if he's got something to add. But the manager's report will be coming out in your inbox tonight. I had some finishing touches that I put on today, but I'll get that out tonight. Of note in there, we got new floors at the community center, both the resurfacing of the gyms and new carpet throughout. It looks really good.
Yay! Thank you, Brody.
And credit to Cresta. She was carrying the water on that one. Some other things to note. I'd be remiss to not mention farewell to Officer Penrod, who retired this month. So we wish him well on his future endeavors. We've got some new faces, and we got pictures of them, new employees that we hired in Public Works on there. So you can look for that. So did you have anything to add, Paul?
No, I don't. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Council, we do have a need for a closed session. I take a motion to recess into closed session.
A motion to close into closed session or move into closed session.
Okay, I have a motion. A second?
Second.
Second by Lisa. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, that's unanimous. Now Cassie has sent you a new link, so we'll leave this session and rejoin that Zoom one.